an integral part of my life. It's just always been in my life. I have very fond early memories of magic. When I was 11, I got my first magic cassette. It was signed by Stephen Mulhern, and I remember that Christmas when I was 11 really fondly and really vividly, like it was yesterday. I got this signed magic cassette and I opened the box and literally just practiced every single trick over and over and over and over again until I understood how it all worked. And it was just the most amazing present that I could have got. I don't remember any of the other presents that I got that year at all. It was just literally that one present, and it was all about magic. My earliest memory really of magic was probably when I was a lot younger. I was only really small, and it was just involving Stephen Mulhern, and when he was a redcoat at Butlins. We go every year with family to Butlins, and he was performing a stage show. He'd written the stage show himself, and it was at that point when I was watching him and the audience were just like, wow, that's amazing, and they literally were just in the palm of his hand, and I realised that's what I wanted. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to amaze people, to be able to be talented and share a talent with just everyone and anyone who would want to see it, or who believed, even for like a few minutes. That's what magic does. Magic just holds you in the palm of the hand for just a few minutes. For me, magic is just one of those things that has never left me. A lot of people think that it can be a hobby, which it can, but for me it's more than a hobby. It's a passion. It's what I love to do. And I feel like because of my autism, I feel I am good at magic and I'm able to understand the concepts of magic because it's those integral following rules. And if you follow the rules, you'll get to your kind of answer, if you like, your solution. And I feel like that's exactly what magic is, and magic brings me this kind of comfort and relief that nothing else does. I feel like when I was younger, because I've known Stephen Mulhern for literally the entirety of my life, I feel like if I had sort of my time over, I would perhaps want to ask him if he would be a mentor to me and would mentor me in my sort of magic career, if you like. I would say that although I'm a magician and I'm a practicing magician and I love magic and I have quite a few tricks up my sleeve, but I kind of feel like if I had him as a mentor, I would kind of class myself as in his calibre, if that makes sense. I would never class myself as like a really, really good magician. I would just kind of say I'm more of a kind of novice. I don't necessarily dabble because I practice all the time. And that's the thing with magic, I think, is the practicing all the time, finding the time to practice, making the time to practice. Because even though I can say I know this trick or this illusion, doesn't necessarily mean just because I know it, I'm just going to stop practicing it and start going on to another trick. Yes, there's times when I'll put one trick or illusion away and I'll start practicing something else, but then I will always go back to the other trick that I knew inside out and practice again to make sure that, one, I remember all the steps, and two, that when I'm actually performing the trick or illusion, that you can't see as somebody who's watching it, that I am internally going, right, what step do I need to do now? What step do I need to do now? Because it should just flow. I've pretty much watched Stephen Mulhern be this amazing magician that he is today. And it's through him that I really, I guess, was inspired to learn and take up this amazing art form, because that's ultimately what magic is. It is a beautiful art form, especially if you do it right and you don't kind of rush these massive tricks and illusions. They have to kind of have this story, and it's the story that you create that goes with these tricks and illusions that make them just these massive wow moments. So for me, one of the tricks that I remember is, again, when I was little, when Stephen was on stage, and he did this absolutely mind-blowing magic trick to do with snow, and his story that went with doing this incredible illusion stuck with me for life. And although I couldn't find footage of him doing it, when he did it last year in his stage show, I was just transported back to that little girl who was just absolutely in love with magic and in love with this story and this beautiful creation of magic falling from the sky and coming out of his hands, and it was just incredible. And that's what I love about magic, is the fact that you can tell a story, but it's that story and how you perform the trick that goes with the story that gets people to go, wow. And that's what people remember, and that's what I love about performing, is that people remember these incredible moments, but it's about getting that story right. It's storytelling. Even now, as an adult, I practice magic. I think this last month I've practiced magic more than I've ever practiced in my life. And I think that's just because, obviously, in this sort of time that we've had the COVID times, we've had times where we've been in lockdown, we've not been able to go out. And magic kind of helped me and saved me and kind of made me more, I don't know, more not accepting, but it kind of made me appreciate magic a lot more, because it was one of those things that I could use as an escape, and I could use that to sort of build a story and do a trick. And I still do that now. I in fact have built over this last month my sort of, I guess, armoury of tricks. I don't know if you call it an armoury, but I've built my armoury of tricks this last month. I have gotten a few more tricks, and I've spent pretty much the whole month up to now learning one trick, literally solid. It's just been, right, practice this, get it right. And I feel like I'm at this point now with it where I've got it, I've nailed it, but it's just getting that whole getting to the reveal part, the solution, where everyone in the audience just goes, how did you do that? Or whoa. And they remember that moment. And that's the part that I love about magic. It's that remembering that moment. And if you've got that moment, don't let that moment go and escape, because I think a lot of performers find that really difficult. Is they build that momentum and then they have the audience right here in the palm of your hand, but then they let that moment just pass them by, and they can't kind of seal it at that moment of whoa, and you had them. You kind of, yeah, if you lose that, then that's it, that your trick is literally gone. Do you know what I mean? But for me, I have been practicing this trick, and it's a trick that I have never seen magicians do. I've never seen any magician that I know, when I have seen a few magicians in my time, including Stephen and other magicians, perform magic, because it's something that I absolutely immerse myself in. Any magic show on TV, in person, stage shows, I'm there, and I immerse myself fully in that world. And I've never seen any magician do this trick. This is a trick and a trick / illusion, I guess you could call it, and it's one of those that I really want to do and perform for Stephen Mulhern. And Stephen, if you're watching, I would really, really love to do this and film it with you. And if you would love to be a mentor to me, I mean, I would love that, then I just would never say no. But yeah, it's magic. I remember when I was little, not just Stephen performing magic on stage and in his stage show, but also his dad. his family used to have their own magic shop down in the town in Minehead, and we used to go there, myself and my sister and my family used to go there when we were kids, and we would make this like not necessarily special trip because we'd be walking down the town anyway to see what there was and explore, but we would always make the effort to go in the shop because Stephen's dad would always be like demoing tricks, or if he wasn't demoing tricks and somebody walked in, whether it be us or some other customers, he would get a trick out and he'd start demoing these tricks. And I feel like because of both him and Stephen, that's where my love of magic just started and has grown and has never ever stopped really. And I think it's through always continuing to support and watch Stephen grow as a performer and as a magician that I still have this insatiable love of magic. And I want to get to the point where, as a female magician especially, I want to get to the point where I can go out and I can write my own stage show and I can take my show on tour, just like Stephen has, but people can literally go, she's a female magician, she's doing it on her own, look at her, wow, and let it speak for itself. Because obviously years ago, there was no such thing really as female magicians, and even now there are very few female magicians. If you see a female, normally you just think, oh, you know, magician's assistant. You don't actually physically think that that woman is going to perform the magic and going to have you captivated in the palm of her hand, because still it's one of those more male dominated areas, because years ago it just was never heard of that a female was a magician. It was always that it was the male. So I guess to be even in the same league as Stephen Mulhern or other magicians like Pete Furman's amazing, Ben Hanlon, I've seen Ben live, his magic is superb, top class. I would just love to class myself in that calibre, and I don't feel, even now, even though I've been practicing and doing magic for years, I just don't feel that I'm in that same league. But magic is a very powerful tool, and I'm going to continue to use that and continue to grow in my magic, and hopefully I will maybe write a magic show and maybe film it and perform it for you guys and stick it on my channel for you guys to see, because I would ultimately love to share my passion, my love of magic with a wider audience. I used to write scripts for my family all the time, and I used to perform when I was younger. These shows, these scripts that I'd written, I used to perform them for my family, mainly for my grandma and my sister, and they literally knew every single trick inside out, like the palm of their hand, and they never got bored of them, even though you could kind of like see in their faces they're a bit bored, like you're not putting on another magic show. But they never said to my face, oh, I'm bored of this now. Like, they literally allowed me to grow as a magician and to be able to get these tricks nailed. And I feel like I've moved on so much from this magic box that I originally got, that was like all the little tiny plastic illusions and plastic tricks, to card tricks. The card tricks are now one of the things that I perform, and I love to perform is card tricks, but I will always go back to what I started with and what I was first able to learn as a magician, because ultimately that's where I started, and it's about knowing where you start and going back to your roots.